Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a time where women weren't just expected to endure life, but to survive it. Sometimes against all odds. We're talking about medieval times, a time when life expectancy was short, hygiene was questionable, and the idea of taking care of yourself was more of a myth than a reality. And trust me, you might not even make it past the first day. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It's a cold morning in medieval Europe, somewhere around the 12th century. You wake up in a cramped, cold room, the wooden walls creaking with the chill of dawn. The air smells faintly of smoke from last night's fire and damp straw. You stretch, and regret it instantly. Your back cracks, your neck twinges, and as you sit up, the hard mattress feels like it's rejecting you. The world outside is still asleep, but here you are, wide awake and ready to face another day in a world where survival was never guaranteed. But that's not your biggest concern today. Your mind races, but not with thoughts of hunger or cold. No, today you have a different kind of fear, the kind that comes with the knowledge of what's to come if you get pregnant again. Pregnancy, more specifically, avoiding it, is something every woman in medieval Europe is worried about. For many, childbirth wasn't a beautiful moment of joy, it was a terrifying gamble. Every time you carried a child, you were risking your life, and you had no idea if this pregnancy might be your last. So, how exactly do you prevent that? You didn't have access to modern contraception, and the church made sure that nothing unnatural would be openly practiced. Yet, like women everywhere, you're resourceful. You've learned what to do to protect yourself even if you don't fully understand how, or if it works. You start your day like so many others, with a quick wash at the nearby stream. The water's cold, but it wakes you up, and you go through the motions. Scrub your face, rub your hands through your hair, and prepare for the day. But today, as you're finishing up, your thoughts keep drifting back to something that's always on your mind. What are the options for avoiding pregnancy in a world where there's no reliable way to stop it? In medieval Europe, women were expected to bear children, lots of them. Every time you felt the discomfort of an unfamiliar cramp or a wave of nausea, it could only mean one thing: you were probably pregnant again. And yet, no one tells you how to stop it. The options were less than ideal. First, there's the pull-out method. Yes, the medieval version of it. Most women were too embarrassed to talk about it openly, but there were whispers of a way for men to try to control it. You never really trusted it though. After all, accidents happen, don't they? Then there were the herbal remedies. You've heard old women in your village whisper about the power of plants: sage, pennyroyal, tansy, and even juniper berries. The idea was that these herbs could somehow block a pregnancy, but no one really knew if they worked. Sometimes they caused nothing but a bad stomach and regret. Other times, they might have just been a placebo, a way for women to feel like they had control, even when they didn't. Some women in your village even swore by a mixture of vinegar and honey. They'd take it in the mornings, hoping it would work as some kind of contraceptive. But truthfully, you don't know if that's just superstition or an actual remedy. It's not like you can call a doctor and ask if that's a good idea. No, you just have to go with your gut, literally and figuratively. Still, you don't completely trust these methods. You keep your fingers crossed every month, praying for a missed period, and hoping you won't have to face another round of morning sickness or another long labor. But as time goes on, the fear of another pregnancy becomes more and more overwhelming. You don't want to be another woman lost to childbirth, and yet there's little you can do to stop it. And don't even get started on the church. The priests aren't exactly keen on women using these unnatural methods. You've heard the rumors. They call it sin. They say it's against God's will. In truth, you're just trying to survive in a world where the best you can do is hope for the best and prepare for the worst. But for now, there's nothing to do but get on with the day. You pull your shawl tighter, knowing that the real work is about to begin. Just like every other day, you don't know what the future holds. But one thing's for sure, you've learned how to be resourceful, even when the odds are stacked against you. You've made it through another cold and dreary morning, and as you sit down to breakfast, if you can call it that, you can't help but think of the long, hard hours ahead. It's not just the backbreaking work that weighs on your mind today though. It's the constant worry that another pregnancy might be lurking just around the corner. You're not the only one who feels this way, of course. Women everywhere are finding ways to navigate this dangerous, unpredictable world of reproduction. And sometimes, It's the strangest remedies that seem to offer the most hope. But let's take a step back and appreciate the absurdity of it all. I mean, come on. How did they ever expect you to avoid pregnancy in a time when the concept of birth control was essentially non-existent? There were no sleep pills, no discreet IUDs, no comforting doctor's appointments. No. Instead, your options were limited to what you could concoct in your kitchen, relying on the wisdom of old wives and ancient superstitions passed down through generations. This is where things start to get interesting. Some women believed that carrying certain charms could ward off pregnancy. These weren't your average trinkets, though. You weren't tossing a penny into a wishing well. No. You were talking about things like the bezoar, a strange stone thought to come from the stomach of a goat or sheep. Now, these bezoars were supposed to have magical properties. In fact, they were believed to be an antidote to poison, and some women wore them as pendants or carried them in their pockets, in the hopes that they might also prevent unwanted pregnancies. Whether it worked or not, well, history doesn't tell us, but it certainly sounds like something out of a fairy tale, doesn't it? And then there's the matter of amulets. You know the kind I'm talking about. Small, usually iron, trinkets engraved with symbols or words. Some women wore these amulets as a form of protection against pregnancy, believing they had the power to repel fertility. It seems almost absurd, doesn't it? But when you're a medieval woman, and the idea of life with more children than you can handle feels like a death sentence, you'll take any little scrap of hope you can get. You may not fully understand the power of these charms, but you hold them close, just in case they work. Of course, some methods were less magical, but no less strange. For instance, there were some who swore by the rhythm method. That's right, while the science behind the safe days was still centuries away from being understood. Many women tried to track their cycles, betting on timing as the ultimate contraceptive. But you have to ask yourself, did this method actually work? The answer, unfortunately, is probably not. The rhythm method wasn't exactly effective. In fact, it was probably about as reliable as flipping a coin to see if you're pregnant. Now, let's talk about the infamous coitus interruptus. Yes, that's right, pulling out. A technique passed down through the generations, probably discussed in hushed whispers around campfires. If you think about it, it's not a terrible idea. Well, in theory anyway. But in practice, it was about as effective as praying to the heavens for good luck. It's not exactly foolproof, but in a world where your options are limited, it becomes a routine, albeit stressful, strategy for avoiding pregnancy. Yet, even with all these attempts at controlling your body, the stakes are always high. The constant fear that something might go wrong, that the method you've chosen might fail hangs over your every move. One wrong step, one moment of weakness, and you might find yourself with a swollen belly and no way out. And that's where the harsh reality sets in. You live in a world where giving birth is not a choice, it's an expectation. Having children, especially for women in lower classes, is often a necessity. More hands to work the fields, more mouths to feed. It's a cruel system, but it's the only system you know. Even in the rare instances when a woman did manage to avoid pregnancy, the church wasn't exactly throwing her a parade. After all, the church had its own views on reproduction and marriage, and any attempt to avoid having children outside of natural means was often seen as heretical. You've heard the rumors, of course, about women who were punished for using herbs or unnatural methods. The church had a long history of punishing those who went against its teachings, and a woman trying to control her fertility was as likely to be labeled a witch as she was to find herself with a healthy, happy family. But not everyone is swayed by these threats. Some women quietly persist in their attempts to control their bodies. They may not fully understand the science behind their methods, but they trust in the folk wisdom that's been passed down through the ages. And so, life continues. As the sun begins to set, you make your way home, thoughts still swirling about your place in a world where your choices are limited by so many forces. The constant worry over pregnancy, the fear of judgment from the church, the pressure from society, none of it ever truly lets up. But you're still standing, still fighting to maintain some semblance of control in a world where so much is out of your hands. And with that thought, you step into the twilight, ready to face another day of survival in the medieval world. The next day feels like a repeat of every other, and yet it's different in its own small way. Maybe it's the lingering unease that follows you, like a shadow that grows longer with every step. You're still thinking about the strange rituals and remedies you've come across over the past few days. But today, there's something in the air that feels heavier than usual. Maybe it's because you've just learned something new that could, just maybe, work in your favor. Or maybe it's just another distraction. Another fragile hope, but one that seems to catch your interest more than the rest. Today, you find yourself wandering through the village marketplace, the smell of fresh bread and fish hanging thick in the air. The sounds of haggling and the bustling of vendors mingle with the occasional bray of a donkey and the clatter of horses' hooves on cobblestone. There's a subtle tension in the atmosphere, a strange kind of anticipation that seems to pulse through the crowd. You can't quite put your finger on it, but something feels different today. Your feet carry you toward an older woman's stall at the edge of the market. She's known as one of the village's wise women, a herbalist of sorts. She's the type of person women come to when they need advice. Whether it's for a remedy to calm an upset stomach, or more often than not, something to help them with the perennial fear of getting pregnant. You've heard whispers about her, a woman who sells concoctions that some believe might prevent pregnancy. The church is wary of her, of course, and many of the locals keep their distance, afraid of being labeled as witches or sinners. But you've been here long enough to know that the more dangerous something is perceived to be, the more likely it is that it holds some semblance of truth. You approach her stall quietly, trying not to draw attention. Her eyes, sharp as ever, meet yours. She gives you a knowing smile, as if she's been waiting for you all along. Without a word, she gestures to a small wooden box, hidden beneath a thick cloth. You lean in, trying to make out the contents, but she pulls it back slightly, just out of view. Looking for something to keep the babies away, are you? She asks, her voice low but teasing, as if the very idea of a woman taking control of her own fertility was a secret they both shared. You nod, though you feel the heat of embarrassment rising in your cheeks. It's not the first time you've considered this, but it feels different. You're about to make a decision that could change your life, and yet it feels almost too simple. It shouldn't be this easy, right? She rummages through her box and pulls out a small pouch. It's simple, nothing fancy, just a square of cloth tied at the corners. She places it in your hand with a knowing look. This, she says, is a blend of herbs, pennyroyal, rue, and a few others. It's not a guaranteed solution, but it's been known to help. Just brew it as a tea. Drink it once a day for a few days, and you might find it works. Maybe. You don't know what to say. It all seems so absurd, so impossible. Yet she speaks with such confidence. You've heard of pennyroyal before, in hushed conversations between the older women in your village, but never in such an open way. You wonder just how much of what she's offering is rooted in real science, and how much of it is simply folklore passed down through generations. But, then again, you've tried everything else. You've used the rhythm method, you've relied on amulets, and you've listened to every old wives' tale there is. What harm could another try do? It's not like you've got anything to lose. Right? You hand over the small sum of coins she asks for, feeling the weight of the decision settle into your chest. As you turn to leave, the old woman calls after you, her voice echoing in the back of your mind. Don't expect it to be foolproof, she warns. Nothing is, but it's better than doing nothing. Her words linger as you make your way back through the market, clutching the small bundle of herbs in your pocket. Is this the answer you've been looking for, or just another dead end? The uncertainty nags at you, but for now, you push it away. You have no other choice but to hope. As you walk, you can't help but think about the other women in your village, the ones who haven't found any luck with these strange remedies. What do? Some give up entirely, resigning themselves to the idea that their bodies are nothing but vessels for children. Others, like you, search for any tiny shred of control in a world where they have none, and some, well, they take a much darker path, using methods you would never dream of. Methods that might bring more harm than good. The truth is, no one really knows what works. There's no one who can tell you with certainty that the pennyroyal will keep you from becoming pregnant. No one who can guarantee that the next time you find yourself staring at a missed period, you won't have to face yet another long, painful pregnancy. The question hangs in the air as you return home. Is this the answer? Or is it just another way of coping in a world that offers few real solutions? Later that night, as the wind howls outside and the fire crackles in the hearth, you sit alone in the quiet of your home. The little pouch of herbs sits on the table in front of you. You pick it up, the fabric rough beneath your fingertips, and wonder what tomorrow will bring. Tomorrow, you'll brew the tea. Tomorrow, you'll hope. But for tonight, you let the quiet stillness of the room take over. Maybe it's the silence that gives you a sense of peace. Or maybe it's the idea that, for once, you have something that might, just might, change your fate. The next few days are spent with a growing sense of anticipation, though you try not to let it show. You brew the tea just as the old woman instructed, the pungent smell of the herbs filling your small kitchen. The mixture is bitter, but you drink it down anyway, hoping, praying that it will work. After all, what else do you have to rely on? There are no other options, no doctors to consult, no guaranteed solution to your problem. You go about your daily chores, your mind often drifting back to the tea, and whether it will have the desired effect. Every cramp, every moment of dizziness, makes you wonder, could this be it? Could this be the end of your constant fear? You try not to think about it too much, but it's always there, lurking in the background like a shadow that never quite leaves you. And then, one day, something happens that you didn't expect. It's just after dawn when you realize your cycle is late. You try to dismiss it at first. It's probably just a mistake. You tell yourself, but then you remember the herbs, the tea you've been drinking every day for the past week. Could it be working? You can't help but feel a rush of hope, a small spark of something you haven't allowed yourself to feel in a long time. But then doubt creeps in. What if it's just wishful thinking? What if you're reading too much into it? You spend the rest of the morning in a daze, trying to go through the motions of your daily routine, but your thoughts keep straying back to that one question: am I pregnant or not? Later, you find yourself walking down to the stream. You've been there countless times, but today it feels different. The water, the trees, the birds all seem to have a sense of stillness that matches the unease within you. As you wash your face in the cold stream, the chill of the water shocks your system, and for a moment it clears your mind. But only for a moment. Your mind races again, wondering if the herbs have worked, if the old woman's advice actually did something for you. Could this simple strange brew of herbs really be the key to avoiding another pregnancy? The thought is both exhilarating and terrifying. You've heard the tales. Some women swear by herbal remedies, but others say they're nothing more than a myth. And then there are those who say they've tried everything, only to end up pregnant anyway. For all the hope you've placed in this, for all the faith you've put in that old woman's secret formula, you can't shake the nagging feeling that, in the end, it's all just a game of chance. By the time you return home, the sun has risen high, and you can feel the weight of the decision pressing down on you. As you sit by the hearth, thinking of the future, your thoughts turn to the women who have come before you, the ones who didn't have any of these options, the ones who just accepted their fate, year after year. For them, pregnancy was an inevitable part of life, something they had no control over. They had no choice but to accept it. But you do have a choice, or at least, you think you do. You look at the pouch of herbs sitting on the table before you. It's strange how something so simple, so natural, could hold such power. You don't know if it will work, but you're willing to try. For the first time in a long while, you feel like you have some control over your own life. As the evening settles in, you think about the future. You think about the women who have gone through this same struggle before you, the ones who came up with their own remedies and rituals to protect themselves. You think about the herbs, the charms, the old wives' tales, and wonder if any of them ever really worked. And yet, here you are, trying one of your own. Tomorrow, you'll know. Tomorrow, the wait will be over. But for tonight, all you can do is sit in the flickering firelight, staring at the herbs, and hope. And hope is something you haven't allowed yourself to do in years. The next morning dawns with an eerie quiet. You wake up earlier than usual, almost as if you've been expecting something. Your body is tense, every nerve strung tight, waiting for some kind of sign, an answer, perhaps, to the question that's been consuming you for days now. The tea, the herbs, did they work? Or was it just another one of those false hopes that leaves you stranded with nothing but disappointment? You get out of bed, your feet cold against the rough wooden floorboards. You go about your morning routine mechanically, still trying to shake the nervous tension that's gripped you since waking. The sun hasn't fully risen yet, and the light filtering through the cracks in the walls is soft, pale. The fire in the hearth is just a flicker, casting long shadows on the stone walls. You try to distract yourself. The usual chores, scrubbing the floor, gathering the eggs from the chicken coop, getting water from the well, are a comfort, a way to keep your mind off what you can't yet know. But every movement feels sluggish. Every action feels like it's taking too long. You just want to know. And then, it happens. The feeling. You've been here before. The telltale signs, the cramps, the nausea, the exhaustion that seems to settle into your bones before you even realize what's happening. For a moment you freeze. You don't want to believe it, you can't bear to think it. Not after everything you've been through, not after taking matters into your own hands for once. But then there's no denying it. The feeling grows stronger, the certainty creeping in, inch by inch. You're pregnant again. It's a wave of emotion that hits you all at once. Anger, frustration, fear, and yes, a small part of you feels defeated. The tea didn't work. The herbs didn't work. You didn't have a choice after all. You're stuck in the cycle again, bound to your body's whims, unable to control what's happening. You sit down on the wooden bench in the corner of your room, your head in your hands. The room feels too small, too tight. The weight of it all presses down on you. Another pregnancy, another 9 months of discomfort, of uncertainty, of giving birth only to watch your body lose itself in the process. And yet, you're not entirely surprised. Maybe, deep down, you knew it wouldn't work. Maybe you never truly believed that a handful of herbs could change anything, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. You'd hope for something better, something more, something that gave you just a little more control over your own life. The women around you are in the same boat. You've heard the stories, whispers of other women who tried every possible method to stop pregnancies, only to end up pregnant anyway. They've all walked the same path. Some just accept it. Some, like you, try to fight back. But in the end, it's the same. The truth is, you've just been gambling with your future, hoping the odds would finally swing in your favor. And today, those odds didn't play out. You're not sure what to do now. You know that once a pregnancy is suspected, there's no turning back. You can't undo it. You can't erase it. You can't pretend it's not happening. You just have to face the consequences. But then, as you sit there in the dim light of the room, another thought creeps in. What if you're not entirely helpless? What if, even now, there's still something you can do? Something that could change the course of this pregnancy, or at least give you a chance to change your fate. The more you think about it, the more you realize that you might still have options. There are always rumors. There are always ways. Even in a world as limited as this one, there's always someone who knows something that could help. Something that could give you a fighting chance. But for now, you can't think about that. You need time to process this news. You need time to let it sink in. And so, as the sun rises fully, casting a warm golden light across the room, you stand up. You go back to the hearth. You add more wood to the fire, and you let yourself breathe. It's going to be okay. It has to be. The weight of the future still hangs heavy, but you can't let it crush you. Not yet. You won't give up. You can't. You have to keep going. Keep looking for the answers. Keep pushing for something better. Maybe this pregnancy wasn't the answer you wanted, but maybe, just maybe, it's the push you need to go looking for the next one. For now, though, all you can do is wait and hope. The days that follow are filled with a strange mix of routine and dread. You've confirmed what you feared, another pregnancy. Just when you thought you might have found a way out. It's frustrating. This endless cycle of hope and disappointment. And yet, you can't help but feel a spark of defiance. Deep inside, you know that the battle isn't over yet. There has to be something. Some way to break free from this seemingly endless loop. But as you go through your daily tasks, the weight of it all begins to settle in. The first signs are subtle at first. You feel a little more tired than usual, a little more irritable. The scent of the morning dew makes your stomach churn, and even the smallest of tasks seem to require more effort than you remember. It's as if your body is already beginning to change, preparing for the months ahead. And all you can think is, here we go again. At least you're not alone in this. You know that every woman in your village, every woman across the land, is facing the same pressure. The pressure to bear children, the pressure to keep the line going, the pressure to be useful in a world that values women most for their ability to procreate. It's a weight that's hard to escape, one that hangs over you like a thick, dark cloud. But even though it feels like there's no way out, there's something in you that refuses to give up. You've already started questioning the methods you've tried. And now, as the pregnancy begins to make itself known, you begin to wonder if there's still a way to take control. You've heard rumors, of course, about women who found ways to end a pregnancy, ways that were whispered about in hushed tones. There's always talk of herbs, of potions, of secret knowledge passed down by the women who know the ways of the world. Some say it's dangerous, that trying to end a pregnancy could cost you everything. But others say that it's worth the risk, that if you don't try, you might lose everything anyway. It's a difficult choice, one that no woman should have to face. But here you are, forced into making a decision that could change the course of your life. You try to shut out the fear, the guilt, the uncertainty that floods your mind, and focus on what you can do. You decide to seek out the old woman again, the herbalist who gave you the tea. She's been around for as long as you can remember, always with her little stall in the market, always with a new remedy or a bit of wisdom. The thought of going back to her fills you with both hope and dread. What if she has something that could work? What if she has the answer you've been looking for? Or maybe, you wonder, what if she's just another part of the cycle? Another attempt that leads to nowhere? But you need to know. You can't just sit back and let fate dictate your future. As you walk through the market, your heart beats a little faster. You spot her stall before she sees you, her old hands carefully arranging small bundles of herbs. You hesitate, but only for a moment. You walk toward her, your steps sure, but your heart racing. She looks up as you approach, and her face softens with recognition. "Back again, are you?" she says, a knowing look in her eyes. There's no judgment in her gaze, only the same quiet understanding she had the last time. You nod, not trusting your voice. You can feel the weight of your decision in your chest. "I need something stronger this time," you say, your voice barely a whisper. "Something to stop it." The old woman studies you for a moment, her gaze assessing. Then, without a word, she begins to rummage through her wares, pulling out various bundles of dried herbs. She doesn't speak as she works, but you feel the tension in the air, the silent understanding between you. Finally, she pulls out a small vial of dark liquid. "This," she says quietly, "is made from rue, pennyroyal, and a few other herbs that could help you. But you must be careful. It's not for the faint of heart. It works, but at a cost. You'll need to take it soon, and you must rest after. It will be painful." Your stomach tightens. You already know what she's saying. The risk is high, the price is steep, but the alternative, the thought of carrying this pregnancy to term, feels like a death sentence in itself. You know it's not a decision you should take lightly, but there's no other choice. Not for you. Not in this world. You hand her the small sum of coins she asks for, and she hands you the vial with a small, steady nod. You clutch it tightly in your hand, the small glass bottle feeling heavier than you expected. This is the moment. This is the choice you have to make. And so, with a deep breath, you leave the market. You walk back home slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. There's no turning back now. You've already made the decision. You've chosen your path, even if you're not entirely sure where it leads. That night, you take the liquid. The taste is bitter. The sensation of it burning as it slides down your throat is sharp, almost too much to bear. You immediately feel the effects. Your body responds to it with a rush of heat, your heart pounding in your chest. You lay down, your body aching, and close your eyes, wondering what tomorrow will bring. Will this work, or is it another fruitless attempt, another mistake, another twist in the never-ending cycle? For now, all you can do is wait and hope. The night feels longer than it should, stretching out in front of you like a never-ending sea of uncertainty. Every twist and turn of your body is a reminder of the decision you've made, of the bitter liquid you forced down your throat just hours ago. You lie there, your mind spinning, as your body reacts to the herbs in strange, painful waves. The warmth spreads through you like wildfire, but it's not the kind of heat that comforts. It's the kind that makes you feel like you've stepped into a fire without realizing it. You wish you could sleep, but the pain is enough to keep you awake. It's a dull ache in your stomach, a constant reminder of what you've done. You try to breathe through it, reminding yourself that this is what you wanted, that this is the only way out of the endless cycle you found yourself in. But the truth is, you don't know if it will work. You don't know if you'll wake up tomorrow and find that the herbs have done what they were supposed to do, or if you'll wake up to find yourself even further trapped in a situation you can't control. By morning, the pain has settled into something more manageable, though your body still feels off, like you're not quite in control of it. You drag yourself out of bed, the sunlight creeping through the cracks in the walls, casting long shadows across the floor. The air is thick with the scent of the hearth, and for a moment, everything feels strangely quiet, as if the world itself is holding its breath. You move slowly, your steps heavy. There's no immediate change, no miraculous relief, and yet you know something has shifted. The world outside feels distant, as if it's far away from the heaviness you're carrying in your chest. The decision you made last night feels both like a weight and a release. You're not sure which one is stronger. You can't quite bring yourself to look in the mirror just yet. You know that seeing your reflection will force you to confront the reality of your choices, and for now, you need more time to process it all. You've heard stories of women who regretted using these kinds of remedies. Some of them didn't work. Some of them worked too well, with consequences that no one could predict. The church doesn't talk about these things. Of course, they don't teach you how to handle a situation like this. No one does. There's no guidebook, no manual on what to do when you're stuck in the kind of situation you can't escape from. Instead, you're left to figure it out on your own. Just like so many women before you, the silence of the morning is almost suffocating, the weight of your decision pressing down on you with every passing second. But as the day goes on, something unexpected happens. The pain begins to fade. It's not immediate, it's gradual, like the sun rising over the horizon, slowly casting light on a darkened world. You start to feel something you haven't allowed yourself to feel in a long time, a flicker of hope. You take it slow, not daring to get too excited, but there's a shift. You feel different, lighter, even. You can't quite explain it, but it's as if a weight has been lifted from your chest. It's not gone entirely. The fear, the uncertainty, is still there, lurking in the background, but for the first time in days, you dare to hope that this might have worked. You don't know how it will play out. Of course, this is only the beginning. There's still so much left to happen, but as you move through the day, you feel a tentative sense of relief settle in. Maybe, just maybe, this is the answer you've been searching for. You find yourself going about your chores with a little more energy. The sun feels warmer on your skin. The birdsong outside sounds a little sweeter. You're not entirely free of the lingering doubt. Of course, you know better than to trust hope too fully. But still, there's a part of you that dares to believe that this could be the moment you've been waiting for. Later in the evening, you sit by the fire, your thoughts drifting to the women who came before you. The ones who, like you, tried every method under the sun to control their fertility. The ones who took risks, who whispered secrets in the night, hoping that their efforts would change their fate. You wonder how many of them succeeded, how many of them found a way to break free from the endless cycle of pregnancy, childbirth, and uncertainty. You wonder how many of them used the same remedies, the same herbs, that you've now tried. Did they work for them? Did they find the same sense of relief you're feeling now? Or were they, too, left to wonder whether they were just wasting their time, chasing after an impossible dream? As the night deepens, the fire crackles softly, and you close your eyes, letting the warmth of the flames soothe your body. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new decisions to make, but for now, you let yourself rest, knowing that tonight, for the first time in a while, you have a sliver of hope to hold on to. For now, that's enough. Morning breaks slowly, as if the earth itself is reluctant to wake up from the silence of the night. The first rays of sunlight trickle through the cracks in the walls, casting long, soft shadows across your room. The pain that was so intense just hours ago has dulled to a mere whisper, and though you're still wary, you can't help but breathe a little easier. For the first time in what feels like forever, you're not completely consumed by the fear of what's to come. You rise from your bed carefully, the weight of yesterday's decisions still lingering. But the pressure in your chest has eased just enough for you to begin moving forward again. There's no sudden miracle, no grand change, but there's something different. Something that feels just a little less suffocating. You let out a quiet breath, the kind that says, maybe this is the beginning of something better. The world outside is still waking up. You hear the sound of birds calling from the trees, the distant chatter of children beginning their day, the quiet hum of a village slowly coming to life. It's almost ordinary, almost. You know better than to trust in calm too fully. But for now, you allow yourself a moment of peace. You take your time getting ready for the day, your movements deliberate and slow. Every step feels like a small victory, even as the lingering thoughts of what's next refuse to leave your mind. What if it doesn't work? What if, in the end, you're still trapped in this cycle? You push the doubt aside. There's nothing more you can do except wait and hope. After you've finished your morning chores, you take a walk down to the stream. The water is crystal clear, rippling over rocks with a soft, soothing sound. It's peaceful here, as it always is. But today, it feels like more. It feels like a moment of clarity. A space where, for a fleeting moment, your thoughts can settle and rest. You think about the future that's always felt so uncertain, so out of your reach. You think about the women who've come before you, those who have struggled just as you have. You think about their secret remedies, their whispered advice, their endless search for something, anything, to help them keep control of their own bodies. You wonder if they ever felt like this. If they too, ever had a fleeting moment of hope, only to be followed by a return of doubt. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, you can't help but feel a sense of anticipation, mixed with a deep sense of wariness. It's as if you're standing on the edge of something new, something that could be better, or something that could end just as badly as it began. But for now, you let yourself hold on to the smallest hope that this time, things will be different. This time, the cycle will end. By the time you return home, the day has grown warmer, and the heat of the sun presses against your skin. There's a heaviness to the air, as if the world is waiting for something to happen. You don't know what that something is, but you're ready for it. Later that evening, after the work of the day is done, you sit by the fire. You've become accustomed to these moments, quiet, peaceful, but always filled with an undercurrent of tension. The fire crackles softly, the scent of burning wood filling the air. The light flickers across the walls, casting shadows that seem to dance in time with your thoughts. You stare into the flames, your mind drifting to the future, to the possibility that you might actually be free, to the hope that maybe, just maybe, this method, the herbs, the secret remedy, will be the one that works. For the first time in a long while, you feel like you might be able to breathe again. Like you might have found something that will give you the power to control your own fate. You're not naïve. You know that nothing is guaranteed. But tonight, as the fire casts its glow around you, and the world outside fades into the quiet of the night, you allow yourself to rest. To imagine a future where you're no longer weighed down by the constant fear of what's next. Tomorrow will come, as it always does, with its own challenges and decisions. But tonight, for now, you let yourself be still. Tomorrow, you'll face it all again, but for tonight, you have a moment of peace. The days following the evening by the fire are strange. You wake up each morning with a lingering sense of uncertainty, but also with a tiny flicker of hope that refuses to be completely extinguished. Each new day feels like it's walking a fine line between two worlds, the world of what might have been and the world that is still unfolding before you. The pain, once sharp and consuming, has all but disappeared, and while you're not yet certain what the future holds, you can't deny that something has shifted. You still don't know if it's the herbs working their magic, or just a temporary relief that will soon fade. But for now, you're cautiously optimistic. It's not a feeling you're used to. You've spent so much of your life waiting for the worst, bracing for disappointment, that the idea of things actually going right feels foreign, even a little strange. But as you walk through your daily routine, something begins to change. You catch yourself smiling more often, at the sky, at the children running by, at the animals moving through the fields. It's small, but it's something you haven't done in a long time for so many years. Your existence has been tied to the constant worry of pregnancy, of being trapped by the expectations of the world around you. And now, for the first time, you feel a glimmer of freedom. You don't know if it's permanent, but you're not about to let it go without savoring it. As the days pass, you feel more in control of your life than you have in a long time. The physical signs of pregnancy that had once been so undeniable seem to have faded. Your body feels more like your own again, less like a battleground. You can't help but wonder if the herbs, the ritual, really did have some kind of power. You didn't expect it to work. How could you? The world doesn't offer solutions like that. But somehow, here you are, standing on the edge of something new. But, as always, the fear lingers. The fear that this moment is too good to be true. You've been let down too many times before. How could you possibly believe that this time is different? You've heard too many stories of women who thought they had found a way out, only to be faced with the same crushing reality when they least expected it. Yet, even with all the doubt, you hold on to the small spark of hope. It's fragile, but it's there. And as you go about your day, tending to the fields and caring for the animals, you find that you can't stop thinking about it. The possibility of being free. The possibility of a life where you don't have to live in constant fear of what might come next. In the evening, you sit outside, the warm summer air cooling as the sun sets. The fire crackles softly beside you, its flickering light casting shadows across the ground. You take a deep breath, feeling the tension of the past few days slowly ease from your shoulders. For the first time in a long time, you feel like you can relax. You can't remember the last time you felt this way, without a constant worry in the back of your mind. You think about the future, what it might look like. It's impossible to know for sure, of course. Things change quickly, and in a world like this, anything could happen. But for now, you hold on to the hope that this moment, that this tiny shift in your life, might just be the beginning of something better. Tomorrow, you will continue the fight. Tomorrow, you will face whatever comes, but tonight, you let yourself rest. For tonight, there is peace. The world is still uncertain, but you feel a little more in control than you did yesterday, and that, you think, is enough. Another morning arrives, and with it, the familiar rhythm of your life. Though today something is different. The weight you had carried for so long, the ever-present fear of pregnancy, the unspoken dread that followed you from the moment the sun rose to when it finally set, has lightened. You wake up with a sense of cautious optimism, something you haven't allowed yourself in years. It's not gone entirely. The fear is still there, lurking at the edges of your thoughts. But it's quieter now, softer, as if it knows it's no longer the loudest voice in your mind. You stand up from the straw mattress, your body feeling more awake than it has in days. You stretch slowly, testing your limbs, making sure they're still yours, still functioning, still carrying you through another day. There's a new clarity in your mind that wasn't there before, a sense that, for once, you might actually have a say in your future. You get dressed, moving through the motions with a kind of deliberation, as if the act of getting ready is now a quiet ceremony. You step outside into the early morning light, feeling the soft breeze on your face. The world feels different somehow. The sky is a little clearer, the air a little fresher, the smell of the earth a little sweeter. It's as if everything is taking a deep breath with you, settling into a new rhythm. You head down to the market, your steps lighter than usual. It's not just that the herbs have worked. It's not just that your body feels more like your own again. It's the fact that, for the first time in a long time, you feel like you're in control. You've taken a step, maybe a small one, but it's a step nonetheless, and you're no longer simply waiting for life to push you forward. You're choosing your own path. The market is bustling as always, the sounds of bartering and the calls of vendors filling the air. You see familiar faces, some smiling, some preoccupied with their own troubles. You wonder how many of them are dealing with the same fears, the same worries, the same overwhelming sense of being trapped. And yet, there's a difference in the way you carry yourself today. A quiet confidence, born from the decision you've made. You feel like you're walking through this world on your terms. And for once, it's enough to just breathe. As you pass by the herbalist's stall, you pause, considering whether to stop. She's there, just as you remember her, sorting through bundles of herbs with the same practiced movements. She looks up and catches your eye, giving you a knowing smile, but there's no need for words. You don't need to buy anything today. You don't need to ask her for more remedies. What you need now is time. Time to see how your body responds. Time to let the peace you've found settle into your life. You nod to her and move on, the quiet satisfaction of a decision well made stirring in your chest. Later in the day, as you work in the fields, the sense of control you've gained begins to seep into everything. The rhythm of your work feels less like a burden and more like an opportunity. You're not just surviving anymore, you're living. You find yourself smiling at small things, a bird taking flight, the rustle of the wind through the trees, the way the earth feels beneath your feet. These small, quiet moments remind you that there is beauty, even in the simplicity of the world around you. The evening settles in, and you gather around the fire with your family. The light from the flames flickers on the walls, casting shadows that dance across the room. The warmth of the fire, the sound of your loved ones' voices, the sense of belonging. It all feels like home. For the first time in a long time, you feel at peace. There's still uncertainty, of course. The world is still unpredictable, still full of challenges, but tonight, for the first time, you don't feel like you're at the mercy of everything around you. You feel like you're in control of your own fate, and that is enough for now. The weight of the past few weeks, the fear, the doubt, the constant worry, begins to fall away as you relax into the comfort of the moment. You've done everything you can. The choice is no longer in the hands of fate. It's in yours. Tomorrow will come, as it always does, with its own challenges, its own decisions to make. But for tonight, you let go of the weight you've been carrying. You can't predict what will happen next, but you know that you've made the right choice for yourself, and that's something you can hold on to. The fire burns low, the room quiets, and as the night deepens, you close your eyes, feeling the calmness settle into your bones. You've taken the first step towards something better, and that, for now, is all that matters. The next morning, as the sun stretches its first fingers of light across the sky, you awaken feeling more rested than you have in a long while. The world outside seems to be holding its breath, waiting for you to make the next move. And though the quiet inside you feels like a brief respite from the chaos, that's often your reality, there's a new edge to your awareness today. You're not quite sure why, but it feels like something important is on the horizon. You rise from your bed and go through your morning routine, each movement deliberate and slower than it used to be. For the first time in a while, you're aware of each action. The way your hands work the water from the well, how your feet press against the earth as you step outside. It's the smallest things, but today, they seem to matter more than they ever have before. The world, in its simplicity, feels full of promise. As you step into the morning light, you notice how the dew clings to the grass, sparkling like little jewels. The air is fresh with the scent of wildflowers and the faintest touch of wood smoke from chimneys in the distance. It's a new day. You breathe in the air, and for once, the world feels like it belongs to you, too. It's strange, how in the midst of uncertainty, moments like these can make everything feel possible again. You don't know what's coming next. Of course, you can't. Life has never offered such certainty. But you've changed. You're no longer waiting for things to happen to you. You're ready to meet them head on, whatever they may be. After tending to the animals and completing your morning chores, you make your way to the market. The usual hustle and bustle is in full swing, with the voices of vendors shouting their prices and children running between the stalls. You're moving through the crowd when you spot the herbalist again, this time not in the usual exchange of remedies, but simply watching the activity around her. You hesitate for a moment, but then, as though drawn by some invisible force, you find yourself walking toward her. She looks up as you approach, her expression thoughtful but not surprised. "Back again?" she asks, her voice low and knowing. You smile, not needing to say anything in return. She's seen the change in you, and she knows it as well as you do. There's no need for words this time. You exchange a glance, and in that quiet moment, you both understand. The remedies you sought, the choices you made, they've brought you to a place where you're no longer just existing. You're starting to live again. The uncertainty hasn't gone anywhere, but it doesn't have the same power over you that it once did. You nod to her, silently thanking her for the part she played, then turn away, moving through the marketplace once more. This time with a purpose. The day unfolds like many others. Fields to tend, animals to care for, tasks to complete. Yet, there's a subtle shift in the air. It's as though something you've been searching for has quietly slipped into place. You work with a sense of steadiness today, each task feeling more like a step towards something greater than just the routine of surviving. You've made a choice, and though you don't know the future, there's a sense of peace in that knowledge. As evening falls, you sit down to eat with your family, the warmth of the fire in front of you creating a soft, golden glow that flickers in the shadows. There's laughter, a lightness to the air that hasn't been there in a while. Even the weight of the past feels distant, as though it's finally starting to slip away. The future is still a mystery, of course. There are still uncertainties ahead, but tonight, for the first time in a long time, you don't feel afraid of them. You close your eyes for a moment, listening to the crackling of the fire and the murmur of voices around you. You've stepped into a new chapter, and though you don't know what comes next, you feel ready to face it. You've taken control for tonight. That's enough. Tomorrow will bring what it will, but you no longer feel like a passive observer. You rise, your heart full of quiet resolve. It's strange to think that something so simple, a choice, a small step forward, could change everything, but it has, and for now, you let that be enough. You know that tomorrow, you'll continue your life. You'll face the challenges ahead just as you always have, but tonight, you rest in the peace that you've earned. The next few days feel like a slow exhale. You go about your daily tasks, feeding the animals, tending the garden, gathering firewood. But now, there's a quiet satisfaction that wasn't there before. It's as though the weight of the world has shifted ever so slightly off your shoulders, and in its place, you've found a steadiness that allows you to breathe a little easier. It's a fragile feeling, but it's yours, and you hold on to it as you move through each moment, each task. You can't quite explain it. It's not as if everything is perfect. Far from it. The world is still full of challenges, still filled with questions and uncertainties, but something in you has changed. You feel more present, more alive in your own skin, as if you've just woken up from a long sleep. It's subtle, this shift, but it's undeniable. You no longer feel as if you're just waiting for the next crisis to hit. For the first time in what feels like forever, you're moving through life on your terms, and that, in itself, feels like a small victory. As you walk through the village, the sounds of daily life fill your ears. The chatter of women exchanging gossip, the thud of wooden carts on cobblestone streets, the distant call of children playing. It's the same as it always is, and yet, there's a different rhythm to it now. It's not as oppressive, not as overwhelming. You've stopped waiting for life to come at you, and in its place, you've found a quiet peace. The herbalist's stall is the same as always, full of dried herbs and strange remedies, but this time, when you glance at her, there's no sense of desperation. No feeling that you need to buy anything, that you need to ask for help. You nod at her, a silent acknowledgement of the small part she played in your journey, but you don't stop to speak. You're ready to move forward on your own. And that's something you didn't know you could say until now. As you tend to the animals and work in the fields, your mind drifts back to the moment when you first took the herbs. You'd felt so unsure, so vulnerable, unsure of what was to come. You remember the fear, the weight of the decision pressing down on you, and yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing. The herbs worked, or at least, you think they did. The dread that once plagued you has receded, and in its place is a quiet confidence, a sense that you have some control over your fate after all. The evening draws close, and you sit around the fire with your family, the warmth of the flames casting a soft glow on the faces of the people you love. There's laughter. And for the first time in a while, it's not forced. It's easy, flowing naturally between the simple moments of sharing a meal and enjoying each other's company. You're not constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering when the next hardship will strike. For tonight, you're allowed to simply be. As you eat, you think about how far you've come. The road hasn't been easy, and there's still more to walk. The future is still uncertain, but for the first time, you're not overwhelmed by it. You've made your choices. You've taken control of your own life in a way that feels like a small rebellion against everything that's ever held you back. You think about the women in your village, the ones who have walked this path before you, the ones who fought for their own survival in a world that often didn't seem to care. You think about their quiet strength, about how they, too, have had to find their own ways to navigate the challenges life has thrown their way. You think about how you've now joined them, in a way, with your own small victories, your own quiet rebellion, but you know that tomorrow will bring its own challenges. It always does. Life doesn't stop simply because you've made a choice, because you've found a small piece of peace. There will be more hurdles to face, more struggles to endure, but you're ready for them now. In a way you weren't before. You know that whatever comes, you can handle it. You've made it this far, and you'll keep going, step by step. As the fire burns low, and the stars begin to twinkle in the night sky, you find yourself smiling. It's not the loud, triumphant smile of someone who's won a battle. It's quieter than that. It's the smile of someone who's learned to find peace in the small things. And for tonight, that's enough. The weeks roll by, each one feeling more familiar, more grounded than the last. It's as though you've found a rhythm in the chaos of life, a steady pulse that carries you through the days. The burden of fear that once consumed your every thought has slowly ebbed away, and in its place is a soft, almost unnoticeable peace. It's not a loud peace, not one that demands attention. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing you have taken control, even in the smallest of ways. You continue with your work, your chores, the same as you always have. Yet everything feels slightly different now. The air seems lighter. The work feels a little less grueling, a little more manageable. There are still long hours, still the weight of the world pressing down on you, but you no longer feel so crushed by it. You've learned, somehow, to take things one step at a time. The days are becoming longer now, the summer heat warming the earth, causing the fields to grow lush and green. The earth beneath your feet feels more solid, more reliable. You take comfort in the small things, like the sound of birds singing in the morning, the scent of fresh bread baking in the market, the quiet hum of life happening around you. These moments, small as they are, begin to fill you with a sense of gratitude. You're not unaware of the uncertainty that still surrounds you. The world doesn't stop just because you found a moment of peace. There are still risks, still dangers, still things that could change everything in the blink of an eye. But, for now, the weight of those risks feels a little lighter. You've faced the hardest part, the fear of the unknown, and you've come through it stronger than you were before. As you walk through the village one afternoon, you spot a group of women gathered around a well, laughing and exchanging stories. It's a sight you've seen countless times before. But today, there's something different about it. There's a sense of camaraderie in their voices, a warmth that you haven't noticed before. You stop for a moment to listen, watching them with a quiet smile. These women, with all their wisdom and strength, have carried the same burdens you've carried. They've faced the same fears, the same challenges. And yet, they continue on, laughing, living, thriving. You realize, as you stand there, that you are no longer an outsider in this world. You've found your place among them, in a way you never thought possible. You've taken part in the quiet, unspoken solidarity of women who support each other, who understand what it means to fight for control in a world that often feels out of your hands. As the day turns to night, you sit by the fire, your family gathered around you. The warmth of the flames mirrors the warmth you feel inside. The quiet contentment of knowing that, despite everything, you've made it through. You've found peace, if only for a moment, and you've learned that, sometimes, that's enough. Tomorrow will come, with its own set of challenges. Of course, life has a way of doing that. But tonight, as the fire crackles and the stars twinkle above, you allow yourself to rest. You've earned this moment, you've fought for it, and you've come out on the other side stronger. You take a deep breath, letting the calm of the night wash over you. You don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long while, you're not afraid of it. You've learned that the key to surviving in this world isn't about controlling everything around you. It's about finding the courage to face whatever comes, one step at a time. And with that thought, You close your eyes, letting the warmth of the fire and the peaceful rhythm of the night carry you into sleep. You know there will be more challenges ahead, but you are no longer afraid to face them. You found a quiet strength within yourself, and that, more than anything, is enough. The days stretch on, each one blending into the next with the familiar cadence of daily life. You wake up early, as you always do. But there's a difference now. You no longer feel like you're simply going through the motions, trying to keep your head above water. There's a lightness in your step that wasn't there before. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's there. It's the feeling of progress, of having finally found some sense of control, even in a world that rarely offers it. You're no longer consumed by fear or anxiety, at least not in the same way. The constant worry of whether or not you'll end up pregnant again has faded into the background. It still lingers at the edges of your thoughts, but it doesn't control you anymore. And that shift, that small but powerful shift, is enough to make you feel like you've reclaimed a piece of yourself. The work still feels endless, of course. There are always tasks to be done, things to take care of, people to look after. But now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, you approach each task with a quiet determination. You no longer feel like you're just surviving. You're living, fully, in each moment, even as the world continues to turn around you. One afternoon, as you walk down the familiar path toward the market, you find yourself reflecting on how far you've come. You think back to the days when your life was nothing more than a series of reactions, reacting to pregnancy, reacting to the needs of others, reacting to the world's demands. But now, you're learning to move forward with intention. You're no longer just reacting. You're shaping your life, taking small steps in the direction you want to go. As you pass by the old woman's stall in the market, you find yourself pausing. You haven't needed to return for any remedies or advice in quite some time. There's a strange sense of finality in that. The herbalist has played her part in your story, but now you're ready to move on. You nod at her from a distance, a quiet acknowledgement of the role she's played in your journey, but there's no need to stop and speak. You're no longer looking for something to fix you. You found your own way. The market is alive with its usual bustle, vendors calling out, children running between the stalls, the clinking of coins exchanged for goods. You walk through it all, feeling as though you belong here now, a part of the rhythm of the place. The world is full of people, full of stories, full of lives unfolding in their own quiet ways. And for the first time, you feel at peace with your place in it. As the day turns to evening, you return home, the weight of the day's work behind you. The house is quiet when you step inside, the fire already crackling softly in the hearth. You sit down to eat, the warmth of the food filling your senses. There's a comfort in these simple moments, the quiet joys of a life lived without constant fear. You look around at the faces of your family, the people you love, and you feel something you haven't felt in a long time: gratitude. It's easy to forget, in the hustle of daily life, how much you have to be thankful for. But tonight, as you sit around the table, it's impossible not to recognize the blessings in your life. You've made it through so much, through the uncertainty, the fear, the feeling of being powerless. And here you are, still standing, still fighting. And for that, you are deeply grateful. Tomorrow will come, just like the days before it. But for tonight, you allow yourself to rest in the quiet certainty that you've done the best you can. The future is still unknown, but that's okay. You've learned that the only thing you can control is how you move forward, step by step. And that, for now, is enough. The fire flickers softly, and you feel the weight of the day melt away, your body relaxing into the comfort of the evening. The future will unfold in its own time, but for tonight, you are at peace. You've come so far, and you know that, no matter what tomorrow brings, you are stronger for it. The next morning feels like the start of something new. The dawn breaks softly, painting the sky in gentle hues of pink and gold, and for the first time in a while, the sight fills you with a sense of calm. The weight of the world that once felt like an unshakable burden now seems distant, almost like a faded memory. It's still there, of course. The pressures of life, the challenges that come with being a woman in this world, the constant balancing act between survival and something that feels more like living. But today, it feels manageable. Today, it feels like you're exactly where you need to be. You rise from your bed with a steadiness that surprises you. There's no frantic rush, no sense of dread or anxiety over what the day might bring. You go through your morning routine slowly, savoring the quiet of the house, the peacefulness of being awake before the world fully stirs. It's a small moment of respite, but it feels like a luxury. In this moment, you are in control. And for the first time, that control doesn't feel like a battle. It feels like a gift. The usual chores follow: gathering firewood, tending to the animals, fixing the things that always need fixing. But now, each task is approached with intention. There's no more hurry, no more desperation to get things done as quickly as possible. You take your time, allowing yourself to be present in each moment. The rhythm of the day feels natural, unhurried, and you realize that, for the first time, you're not simply surviving, you're living, and there's something profoundly freeing in that. By midday, the sun is high in the sky, casting a warm golden light across the land. You're outside, working in the garden, when you spot the familiar figure of the herbalist walking toward you. You haven't seen her much lately, and for a moment you wonder if she's come to offer more remedies or advice. But as she gets closer, you see that there's no urgency in her step. She's not here to give you something or ask something of you. She's here simply to see how you're doing. "Good morning," she says, her voice gentle and full of knowing. You smile in return, grateful for her quiet presence. "I've been thinking about you," she continues, "about the decision you made. You've carried it well." You nod, not quite sure what to say. It feels strange to hear someone acknowledge your struggle, your journey, in such a simple, direct way. But in that moment, you realize that the struggle was never meant to define you. It was a part of your story, yes, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. You've stepped beyond it. "I feel lighter," you say quietly, the words more of a revelation than anything you expected to express. She nods, as if she's heard this from countless others. "It's not always easy to find that peace, is it?" "No," you answer. "But it's there, it's just been waiting." The herbalist smiles softly, a quiet understanding passing between you. You've both been part of each other's journeys, but now, it feels like your paths are parting in a way that feels right. You don't need to rely on her anymore. The remedies, the fears, they've all led you to this place, but they are no longer your lifeline. You are. The rest of the day passes quietly, the work of your hands steady and fulfilling. There's no more fear hanging over you, no more wondering if you're doing the right thing. You've made your peace with the choices you've made, and you know that whatever comes next, you'll handle it in your own way. The future is still uncertain, but for the first time, you're no longer afraid of it. You're ready. As the evening settles in, you gather around the fire with your family. There's laughter, light conversation, and a sense of warmth that fills the room in ways words can't describe. You think about the women in your life, the ones who have helped you get to this place, the ones who have walked beside you, and those who have walked before you, their wisdom passed down through the years. You think about how much you've grown, how much you've learned, how much strength you've found in yourself. You no longer feel like you're just surviving the world. You are living it, fully, and you are learning how to thrive in the face of whatever challenges lie ahead. The fire crackles softly as you sit in the glow of its warmth. You feel a quiet gratitude for this moment, for everything that has brought you here, the peace, the quiet strength, the love that surrounds you. It's all enough. You've done what you needed to do, and now, you allow yourself to rest in the knowledge that you are in control of your own story. Tomorrow will come with its own challenges, but for tonight, you can rest easy. You've earned it. As the days pass, you start to notice the subtle changes in the world around you, the shifts that seem to match the changes within yourself. Life feels more manageable, and although there are still moments of doubt, small, fleeting whispers in the back of your mind, you've learned how to push them aside. It's not that you've become immune to uncertainty, far from it, but you've learned how to live with it, how to make peace with the things you can't control and find strength in the things you can. The mornings have become your favorite time of day. There's a quiet calm that fills the air before the world fully wakes up, a stillness that lets you reflect, breathe, and simply exist. The smell of the earth, the hum of the breeze, and the soft glow of the rising sun are your companions now, each moment reminding you that you are, for the first time in a long while, at peace. You continue with your daily tasks, but now there's a sense of purpose in everything you do. Each chore is no longer something you do out of obligation. It's something you do because it grounds you. It connects you to the world in a way that nothing else can. The rhythm of your work, the repetition of the motions, becomes a source of comfort, and you realize that you don't need grand victories to feel fulfilled. The small, everyday moments are enough. One afternoon, as you're walking toward the market, you spot a familiar face. A woman from your village who has always seemed like a distant figure, someone you admired from afar but never really interacted with. She's standing near the well, her back to you. But as she turns, her eyes meet yours. There's a knowing look in her gaze, and for a moment, you're struck by how much has changed. You no longer feel like you're hiding from the world. Like you're trying to blend into the background for the first time, you feel seen. "Good afternoon," she says. Her voice soft but steady. "Afternoon," you reply, offering a small smile. The exchange is simple, but in that moment, it feels significant. She steps closer, her presence calm and composed. There's something about her that radiates strength, an inner calm that makes you feel grounded just by being near her. She gives you a long, appraising look, and you wonder what she sees when she looks at you. "You've changed," she says simply, her voice thoughtful. "There's something different about you. You carry yourself with more ease." You blink, surprised by the observation, but at the same time, it feels right. It's the kind of change you've been feeling, the kind you've known was happening, but could never quite put into words. "I suppose I have," you answer, your voice quieter now. "I've learned to live with what I can't control." She nods, a small smile playing at the corner of her lips. "It's a hard thing to learn, isn't it?" You nod in agreement. It's a lesson that's taken you years to fully understand. The idea that peace doesn't come from controlling every aspect of your life, but from accepting the moments you can't change. The conversation shifts, and the words begin to flow naturally between the two of you. It's as though you've known each other for far longer than you have. The connection is immediate, easy, and as the exchange comes to an end, you realize that it's more than just an interaction with a neighbor. It's a reminder that you're part of something bigger, that no matter where you go, you are never truly alone. Later that evening, after the work of the day is done, you sit by the fire, the warmth of the flames flickering gently in front of you. The world outside is quiet, and as you look around the room at the faces of your family, you realize that, in some small way, you've found your place in it. You are no longer just surviving, no longer simply enduring. You've found a way to live fully, even in the face of uncertainty. The challenges that come with life haven't disappeared. They never will, but now, they don't feel quite as heavy. You've learned how to navigate them with a sense of calm and purpose, and that has made all the difference. The night settles in around you, and for the first time in a long time, you don't feel the need to chase after the future. You've found contentment in the here and now. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, its own moments of doubt, but for tonight, you rest easy. You've made peace with yourself, with your choices, and with the life you're building. And that, you realize, is enough. The seasons continue their quiet march forward, and with each passing day, you find yourself more settled in the life you've been carving out for yourself. It's not perfect. There are still the occasional struggles, the doubts that come creeping in when you least expect them. But there's something different now. You've learned how to move through the world with a sense of quiet confidence. You're no longer simply reacting to what life throws at you. You're an active participant in it. The mornings are still your favorite time. The air feels fresh, the birds sing louder, and the earth beneath your feet seems more welcoming with every step you take. There's a peace in the way the world wakes up around you, and you find yourself rising earlier and earlier to be a part of it. The sun rises higher now, bathing everything in its golden light, and it feels like the world is unfolding in a way that matches the changes you've made within yourself. One day, as you're walking toward the market, you notice a familiar figure standing near the well. It's the herbalist, the woman who once provided you with the remedies you thought would change everything. She's standing still, looking out at the horizon, her hands clasped loosely in front of her. You're not sure if she sees you, but as you get closer, she turns her head, and her gaze meets yours. There's no urgency in her movement, no need to speak, just a simple recognition that passes between the two of you. She doesn't say anything at first. You don't need words to know what she's thinking. She's watched you walk through your own journey, and somehow, you both know that you've made it through. "You look well," she says after a long pause, her voice soft but full of meaning. "Thank you," you reply, unsure of what else to say. Her words carry a weight that you can't quite explain. She's not just speaking to you. She's speaking to the changes you've made, to the strength you've found in yourself. You've crossed a threshold, and she recognizes that in you. There's a small, knowing smile that tugs at the corner of her lips, and she nods in approval. "I see it," she says quietly. "You've found your way." You smile back, a genuine smile that feels both humble and proud. You don't need to explain, don't need to say anything more. The journey you've walked, the one that started with uncertainty, fear, and desperation, has led you to this moment, where you can finally say without hesitation that you are in control of your own life. "I'm not perfect," you say, though the words feel unnecessary now. "Who is?" she replies, her voice filled with a wry wisdom. "But you're not where you were, and that's something to be proud of." You stand there for a moment, the weight of her words sinking in. There's no magic to what she said, no profound secrets hidden in the simplicity of her statement. But in that moment, you realize that what she said is exactly what you needed to hear. You've made it through, and while the road ahead will always be uncertain, you've found a place where you no longer have to fight for every inch. You thank her quietly, and she nods again, watching you with a knowing look in her eyes. The moment feels like a turning point, one where you're no longer looking back, no longer wondering if you've made the right choices you have. And with that certainty, you turn and continue your walk toward the market. The days continue, each one more grounded than the last. The work still comes, as it always does. There are always fields to tend, meals to prepare, animals to care for. But now, there's a rhythm to it all. The tasks no longer feel burdensome. They feel like a natural part of your life. You've found the peace you were looking for, not in some grand resolution, but in the small everyday moments that make up the fabric of your life. As the evening falls and you sit around the fire with your family, you can't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. The fire flickers in front of you, its warmth wrapping you in comfort, and you realize that while the future is always unknown, you've learned how to face it with grace and strength. You've found peace in the process, in the journey, and in the quiet moments of connection with those around you. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, but tonight, you are content. You've walked this path for so long, but now, you know you're ready for whatever comes next. You've made your choices, you've faced your fears, and you've emerged stronger, wiser, and more at peace with who you are. For tonight, that's enough. The days stretch on, the rhythm of life becoming more familiar, more comfortable with each passing week. The seasons change as they always do, and with each shift in the air, you feel yourself settling deeper into the quiet strength you found. The fear, once so overwhelming, has become just a whisper now. It's there, of course, lingering in the background, but it no longer has the power to shape your every thought, your every step. Instead, it's replaced by something softer, something more resilient. The knowledge that you can handle whatever comes. The mornings are still your favorite time, the quiet before the world fully awakens, and you savor each moment. The sun rises higher each day, its light spilling over the earth in a gentle embrace, casting long shadows on the ground as you step outside to greet the day. You take your time in the mornings now, lingering in the stillness before the bustle of the world catches up with you. It's your time to center yourself, to reflect, to remember just how far you've come. The work, as always, is never ending. The animals need tending, the fields need care, and the daily tasks are always waiting. But now, each chore feels like a meditation, a way of connecting to the earth beneath your feet and the people around you. You've learned to take pride in the small things, the way the earth smells after rain, the warmth of the sun on your face, the satisfaction of a job well done. These moments, simple as they are, carry more weight than you ever realized before. One afternoon, as you walk through the village, you notice something different. There's a change in the way people are looking at you, a shift in how they see you. It's not obvious, but it's there. You've walked this path alone for so long, feeling like an outsider, but now, you're beginning to feel like you belong. The women around you, those who have always been there, those who have lived through the same struggles, are beginning to recognize you, to see you for the strength you've cultivated, the peace you've found. As you pass one of the women you've known for years, she gives you a knowing smile, a small gesture, but one that feels full of meaning. You return the smile, and in that simple exchange, you feel the weight of your journey. The struggles, the fears, the choices, finally starting to feel like they've led you to something bigger than just survival. They've led you to connection, to understanding, to a place where you no longer feel like you're fighting alone. The sense of belonging isn't something you felt often in your life, especially in a world where women are so often relegated to the background, their voices silenced by the weight of expectations and tradition. But now, as you walk through the village, you realize that you've carved out a space for yourself, a space where your voice matters, where your choices count, and where the path you've chosen is respected. That evening, as you sit around the fire with your family, the laughter and chatter filling the space between you, you feel a deep sense of contentment, the warmth of the fire, the sounds of the people you love, and the simple pleasure of sharing a meal. It's everything you've been searching for. The world outside is still uncertain, but here, in this moment, you are at peace. You've made it through, and now, you're living, truly living. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new choices, but tonight, you let go of the weight you've been carrying. You found peace within yourself, and that peace extends to those around you. The future doesn't feel as daunting anymore. You've learned how to face it with strength and grace. For tonight, that's enough. As the seasons continue to shift, so too does your understanding of yourself and your place in this ever-changing world. The quiet moments you once took for granted have become the very foundation of your life. You've learned to find peace not in the grand victories or the sweeping changes, but in the small, steady rhythms of daily existence. It's no longer about surviving from one moment to the next. It's about living fully, deeply, and with purpose. The mornings still feel like a sacred time. You rise early before the world fully stirs, and you take a moment to breathe in the crisp air, to feel the earth beneath your feet. You move through your morning routine slowly, savoring the stillness, the solitude, before the demands of the day begin. It's a quiet time, a peaceful time, and it's yours to enjoy. The world is still sleeping, and for a moment, you're the only one awake, the only one who knows the gentle stillness that comes before the world rushes in. As the sun rises higher in the sky, you begin your day's work. The tasks are familiar, almost comforting now. Feeding the animals, tending to the garden, gathering what's needed for the day. It's all part of the rhythm that you've come to embrace. The work is never truly finished, but there's something satisfying about the act of simply being in the moment, doing what needs to be done without rushing, without worrying about the next task. You've stopped looking ahead with anxiety, stopped constantly fearing what might come next. Instead, you've learned to move with the flow of life, allowing the moments to unfold as they will. It doesn't mean you've stopped making plans or thinking about the future. It simply means you've learned to let go of the need to control everything. Life will bring what it will bring, and you'll meet it with grace. One afternoon, as you're walking through the village, you notice the familiar faces of the women around you. They're carrying out their own tasks, some talking quietly among themselves, others lost in their own thoughts. You realize that you've stopped feeling like an outsider. You've become a part of this world, this community, in a way you never imagined possible. The connections that once felt fragile have become strong, rooted in shared experiences, in the quiet solidarity of women who understand the weight of each other's lives. There's a woman you haven't spoken to much, but today, as you pass by, she greets you with a warm smile. You stop for a moment, exchanging pleasantries, and before you know it, the conversation shifts to something deeper. It's the kind of conversation that's felt impossible in the past, the kind where you talk about the things that matter, the struggles that no one else can see. You talk about the decisions you've made, the fear you've overcome, and the quiet peace you've found within yourself. She listens without judgment, and you realize, in that moment, how far you've come. These conversations were once unimaginable. There was a time when you couldn't imagine opening up to someone in this way, when you felt like you had to keep everything to yourself. But now, you share your story freely, and it feels good to be heard, to be understood. You're no longer carrying everything alone. The evening falls, and you return home, the fire crackling softly in the hearth, the warmth of the flames, the comfort of the people around you. It all feels like home in a way that it never has before. You're no longer just surviving in this world. You're truly living in it. The future still holds its uncertainties, but tonight, you don't need to think about them. Tonight, you're content with the life you've built, with the person you've become. Tomorrow will come with its own challenges, but for tonight, you rest. You've learned to find peace in the small moments, and for now, that's enough. The quiet rhythm of life continues, each day bringing its own set of challenges, but no longer feeling quite as overwhelming. The world seems more manageable now, not because everything has become easy, but because you've learned how to face it. You've learned how to walk through the storms without being swept away by them. It's not about avoiding hardship. It's about learning how to stand firm, how to breathe through the chaos, and how to find moments of peace even in the most uncertain times. The mornings are still your time of solitude, of reflection. As you step outside, the air feels crisp and fresh, the ground beneath your feet firm and reassuring. The world is waking up around you, but you're already here, already rooted in this moment. You've learned that this stillness, this time before the world stirs, is yours to cherish. You breathe it in, allowing it to fill you up, to remind you that you have everything you need to face the day ahead. The tasks of the day are familiar, comforting in their repetition. You work with purpose now, no longer rushing through the motions, but truly embracing the simple act of doing. Feeding the animals, tending the garden, gathering the firewood, it's all part of the rhythm, and it's enough. You've learned to find satisfaction in the small victories, in the quiet moments that make up the fabric of your life. You no longer feel like you're fighting against the current, trying to hold on to something that's always slipping away. You're moving with it now, allowing yourself to be carried along by the flow of life. There's a freedom in that. In releasing the need to control every moment, every outcome. You trust that, whatever comes next, you will be able to handle it. You've learned that peace isn't something that comes from having everything figured out. It's something that comes from accepting life as it is, and trusting yourself to navigate it. Later in the day, as you walk through the village, you find yourself noticing the women around you in a new way. The once unfamiliar faces now feel like old friends, their struggles and triumphs intertwined with your own. You've shared so much with them, whether through quiet conversations, shared tasks, or simply knowing that, no matter what, you're all in this together. One of the women waves to you as you pass by, and you smile, feeling a connection that runs deeper than words. It's not just about survival anymore, it's about solidarity, about knowing that you're part of something bigger, something that can't be broken by the challenges of the world. In this community you are seen, you are heard, and you are valued. You think about how far you've come. The fears that once dominated your thoughts no longer control you. The uncertainty is still there, but it doesn't have the same power over you. You've faced your fears, made your choices, and learned how to live with the consequences. You've learned how to find peace in the midst of chaos, and that is the greatest victory of all. As the evening settles in, you return home to the warmth of the fire. The familiar faces of your family greet you, and you feel a sense of contentment that you've never known before. You've made it through so much, and yet here you are, still standing, still strong. The future is still unknown. But for tonight, it doesn't matter. You've learned that the journey is just as important as the destination, and you're exactly where you need to be. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, just like every other day. But tonight, you rest easy, knowing that you are in control of your own story. You've found peace, not in the absence of difficulty, but in the ability to face it with strength, grace, and a quiet certainty that, whatever comes next, you can handle it. For tonight, that's enough.